Today on Real Estate on the Rocks, we're going to take the gloves off.
Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
And your co-host, Marshall Tucker. And we got James Mendez in the running the board over here. He's going to join us on the podcast today as usual. And we're still looking for Alicia.
Who?
Oh, don't.
Who's that?
She's gotten really busy in her career, and hopefully we can get her back soon. But let's talk today. Let's like I said in the intro there, I'm going to take the gloves off a little bit. You know, I've been reasserting myself into a few books that I think that, in my opinion, leadership sometimes I start trying to take in a lot of content and leading my team into other directions. And I forget about the basics, right? And so we've gotten really involved with this whole like tech war thing, right? So Command versus KV Core versus Boomtown versus Ylopo or whatever it's called.
I can't remember them all.
Yeah, and like all these things, Firepoint, and all these CRMs and really Facebook ads and going after all this stuff. And you forget about sticking to the basics, right? And I think all those things are great that I mentioned. There's a difference also. A lot of people are saying, "Hey, what's the best CRM?" And they really need to clarify, right? Is it a lead generation CRM that manages all your leads and then puts them into your database and gets them going, or you do just want a CRM? And so a little bit we're going to talk about what I'm talking about is that we go through ebbs and flows like we've always chatted about, the peaks and the valleys. And then while we're up in the peaks, we start taking in more content because we have a little bit more time on our hands. And we listen to, quote unquote, big old air quotes here, industry leaders on the way the business is going and what we need to be doing to supplement our business and grow it even further, right? And a lot of it is you start paying attention to, and you get 4 or 5 podcasts deep, or you pick up a book on it, you start watching YouTube videos on that same person or coaching program, and then all of a sudden you're sold that all these passive activities and, basically just closing your eyes and manifesting that you want buyers or sellers are just going to end up in your lap, and it's just this magical fairy dust experience.
You mean when I get my license, people aren't just running over here throwing deals at me?
They're running away.
They're running past you.
See, they lied to me in my classes. They just said it's just going to start getting thrown at you. That's
the thing, is that the industry as a whole is lying to us. It's lying to us as professionals. It's lying to us as new agents. It's lying to us as experienced agents. At all levels, we've got somebody creeping in to the real estate space that's trying to sell us something, right? And so all this stuff is predicated on, the easy button business. And if I can provide an easier solution to you that feels like work, and you pay me $1,000 a month, and you don't have to pick up the phone and prospect, and you don't have to get belly to belly or H2H, human to human, and you don't have to have conversations, and all you have to do is do these Facebook ads, work on your logo, logo, and do all these hocus pocus things that aren't going to be the number one driver of your business, right? And so we've talked about in the past, it's if you do get leads in from any of that stuff, and then you turn them over to another company that will qualify your leads for you. So you're going to pay for your lead in some form or fashion. You don't want to call it. You don't want to have a conversation with that lead. You don't want to get to know them or get them to know, like, and trust you. So you pass them over to another company that's going to do that for you. And I've seen some of the influencers of our business that are around, and they're common folks that people know. They're really kind of in the real estate world, household names, pushing these companies. Obviously, I think they're being paid. I don't think. I know they're being paid. Why else would they push them? And right. So I'm not saying it's not a good service and it can't qualify a lead for you and make it a lot easier. And maybe at scale, you're not necessarily worried about profit that much, or you just don't need that much profit that you can afford to pay for your lead and then pay for somebody to have them, kind of coddle it, nurture it, whatever you want to call it. And then when it's time to actually, boom, then you're going to pay a showing assistant to go show it, and then, you're going to write the contract on it, turn it over to a contract. You're going to turn it over to a contract to close, person, right? And so where in there are you building a relationship that's going to be sustainable? You are always going to be looking for what, just how did Steve Fold put it? Basically pounding the pavement every single day to find new leads, because you're not getting to know the people you're doing business with. You pick them up off a website or a Facebook ad or something like that. You turn them over here. You put a showing assistant on them or a new agent on them, and then you put a contract to closing person on them. Then they go to title, then they're gone, And I mean, that's good for, I guess, guys like us that keep track of those things or work orphaned clients. And most people think that
that's fun.
Just because you sold them a house, that's their client and off limits. Hey, when that transaction's done, they are fair game again. And so I'm going to market to them, and I'm going to put myself in front of them and invite them into my sphere and continue to look for those people also that I want to build relationships with. We have a database of about 5,000 people, right? And we're adding to it all the time. And I would say personally, I know over 1,000 of those people. That's a lot, I know. However, I've lived in the same town for 35 years, and I know a lot of the same people, and I've got a great sphere of influence. So I get to work that and bring people into my sphere, and I'll continue to do that, right? There's no lead generation system. There's no Zillow lead. There's no Trulia lead, Redfin lead, whatever leads that can do that for me. That can always supplement the business, right? And if I could do 3 or 4 extra deals a year off that stuff, that's great. So it can't be your number one lead source, in my opinion, to have a sustainable, replicatable business over time, right? So you need to really, you're in business for a profit, right? I would assume that everybody listening to this podcast got into business for a profit. We can always say like, oh, I got into it because I really enjoy to help people.
I love helping people.
Yeah, we love to help people too.
But I got to have a roof over my head.
Right. And like we always say,
help people if you're out of business.
Right.
You got to help yourself.
Well, you can if you go, start a charity or work for a charity
But you're still in business.
Yeah.
You're still in a business helping people. But if you're out and you can't do the service anymore, you're not helping anyone.
Right. So let's get to kind of some of the real things we need to be doing. Let's get back to the basics here of as a new agent or someone returning to the business, or even some of our folks that we consider experienced, brokers even that are struggling in their business. I mean, what are we doing on our day-to-day activities? What are we coming in and doing? How are we getting in front of possible more people to know, like, and trust us? How are we getting in that space to get them to, to bring us into their lives, to help them solve their problems, because that's what we do. We solve problems at a high level, and we have to have people know, like, and trust us to be able to do that, right? You'll get the one-off every once in a while that wants to do business with you or did business with you just out of necessity that they needed something and you were there. Great. That's not sustainable. That's not replicatable. That's not scalable. And so let's stop fooling ourselves that all this technology jargon and all these people trying to sell us something on the internet and everybody out there pushing that we should be doing all this passive stuff. Let's just identify that that's all fairy dust, and it can work for a little bit of your business, or at least bring leads in. But what is a lead? Right? So let's talk about the lead real quick, what actually that is, because we have plenty of leads that I think fall through the cracks, So no, I don't think anybody has a lead problem.
I mean, if you're just starting out, like the first maybe month or two, if you don't know anybody, you might have a lead problem.
Whip up Zillow.
With a flow of people coming in without you actually doing anything, is what I mean by that.
Right.
But there's still an abundance of leads. You still have Zillow or for sale by owner. I missed that. Sorry, without you doing anything. What do you mean? Yeah. So
inflow of leads. I think what he's saying.
Yeah, people don't really know what you're doing. People aren't recommending you. You're not if you're not on a team, you don't have the marketing coming in. Like, things aren't just coming in without you lifting a finger. Right. So, but you do have the availability of potential clients through like online, like Zillow or different for sale by owner kind of websites and stuff. So you can reach out to people, but you don't have that flow that is just coming in.
You don't have a network built yet.
Yeah. So if you're not in that stage, you shouldn't have a deal. You shouldn't have a lack of flow of people. Okay. It's just being able to talk to them enough to convert them.
All right. What do you think, Marshall?
Rephrase the question, please.
Can I buy a vowel?
You got to get back to the basics. You can have all the technology in the world, gather up all these names and leads for you, but if you're not reaching out to them and talking to them, and you have that tonality in the conversations and you're asking them great questions, what does it all mean?
Right.
Nothing.
Right. It does. It means nothing, and especially if you don't know what to say.
Right.
And I think that most people don't put themselves in action because they don't know what to say. They're not making phone calls because they haven't bought in. They don't like the word scripts, right? Yeah. They don't like the words role play. They don't like to do these things, or they just don't know how to take the next step, or it feels unnatural. When I started, when I got into the real estate space and I got over to my first brokerage I was at, they didn't talk about this stuff, right? And so I was listening to a lot of Mike Ferry stuff. Mike Ferry stuff, and he's really he spoke to me, right? Because he's that old type of school guy like my dad was, or my dad is. Is my dad? I consider my dad a great sales guy, right? And so he flourished while we were young kids, and he got out of Vietnam and he excelled in his career, and that was always from. He was in the sales job. He was an insurance guy, and he worked himself up to some pretty big positions in the insurance world. And so I admired that. And so when I tripped across Mike Ferry, it was kind of the same thing, right? So here's this guy saying, somebody's on a plane headed to your town today, and they're ready to buy a house. How are you going to go find them, right? It's like, great. I need to go out and have more conversations. And he's telling you how to get belly to belly and face to face. That's where I first ever heard that term. That phrase was you got to get belly to belly and face to face. And so what I started doing over time was getting belly and belly face to face with people. All right. And I started trying to go to more stuff, or I tried to, when I say more stuff, like just more events, right? More talking to people. And I would wear my name tag. I got a name tag. I never thought in my life I'd be wearing a name tag. And I wore a name tag, and it got me a couple deals, right? And it's silly and stupid because none of us wear name tags anymore. We've graduated because we wear branded shirts now, and so that's where I had heard that stuff at first was Tom Ferry. Oh, excuse me, Mike Ferry. I always get them two mixed up, obviously father and son there. So.
It always reminds me of when new agents, or at least when I started to first start making calls, it took me right back to junior high, and seeing that girl that you want to call, and you have her number now because you asked somebody, but you don't know what to say, and you're getting all nervous, and everything's dependent on what she's going to say. And I feel the same way when I started prospecting and making calls, oh shoot, I don't know what to say. I'm going to call this person. I really want them to say yes. And the best way to get over that, make 100 of those, make 200 of those, 300 of those.
Absolutely.
And then it just goes away. And then you're awesome. And so,
that was, I kind of trailed off there because someone knocked on our door here. However, when I joined Keller Williams was when they threw me in a program called Bold, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't really necessarily want to take it. I went to the Bold First Step thing, and it was actually informative and kind of cool. And then I was like, I'm not going to take it. And they're like, well, we'll give it to you for free. And I was like, well, how do I pass that up?
Yeah.
And so, cool, I'll do it. And so I did it, and I liked it a lot. There was actually a guy out there, he's an instructor. He is now with eXp Realty. He left, but his name was Hank of Ink. I guess I'm saying his last name right, but I still keep up with the guy on Facebook. He's with eXp. He's one of the biggest guys over at eXp. He's got his own
a ball of energy.
Yeah, great coaching program, and he was a ball of energy. And he really, I could tell going through it, there was a lot of sales pitchy things in there, to set you up to buy more things from Keller Williams, and that's kind of really
it's like an industry standard,
right? And,
upgrade you.
Right. And I paid attention in that stuff, and I started doing the script practice, and I got with a script partner, and it felt really unnatural, and I felt very just stupid, and
I remember going to Bold with Dave and sitting next to him, and he was just shaking his head this is stupid. This is bullshit. He's like, are we leaving for lunch early or what? He's like, this is bullshit.
So in a part of it was bullshit. A part of it is a hoopla, rah thing, and I'm not a big rah type guy.
Yeah, me neither.
And I just more like to buckle down and get to work, and so the script thing was good, and then I started internalizing the scripts more and more, and it got more natural to have the script partner, and then I took on another script partner, and then I started realizing when I was out on listing appointments, when I would make these phone calls and use the scripts, I'm like, oh my gosh, those really worked. And they weren't scripts, they were just what to say next. They were objection handlers.
Yeah.
Right. And so what to say next. And it got me the appointment. Then when I went on the appointment, then I would sit there and I would use these same objection handlers, a lot that they had the concerns on the phone and whatever else. And then I wouldn't be afraid to say, hey, look, if you like what you heard, can you sign on the dotted line today? And if you want to think about it, take some hours to think about it till tomorrow morning. If you want to go back on this and you don't want to list with me, go ahead and rip the contract up. I'm really no pressure. However, to avoid us having to have another, appointment and inconvenience your day and my day, whatever else. Let's just sign now, and it's like, all right. And so they'd sign, and I never had one person call me back and say I tore it up.
Yeah.
And that was all from, learning what to say and not being afraid to make the calls. And so I think we started out with the podcast here was that we gravitated away from that, at the $20 million sales mark. We start believing in a lot of the hype of the industry and not focusing on the things that we don't want to do, right? And so always the things that we don't want to do, basically everything we want lies right under the things that we don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Right. And so it's the things that, it's not natural to want to call people every day and get in front of them. Obviously we might want to, but we still have to kind of gear ourselves up,
talk ourselves out of it.
Well, I think
beat our chest a
part of it is
dance.
the reward system of human nature. So if you were making phone calls and 30 minutes later it turned into a closed deal and you got some cash in your pocket, you'd be like, dang, you'd be on the phone constantly making phone calls. Unfortunately, it's 30, 60, 90 days before we get a paycheck. By the time you get a paycheck, you've already forgot about all that uncomfortable work that you put in there to get the paycheck. Right. And I think that's where a big disconnect is with a lot of people.
Right.
I've been trying to focus on little victories. Like was it Monday? No, Friday. Friday, I was making some calls for some expireds. I went through the list of that we had on the desk, the old ones from like months ago, and I just hadn't tossed it out yet to get the, for my new one. And I was like, just give them a buzz, see if they've sold, see if they're, not interested anymore, or if they're still interested in selling. And a couple of people are. I actually made a phone call to somebody who was a wrong phone number. And he's like, actually, yeah, I need to buy. He's like, I hate this condo. I was telling Melanie about it. And yeah, he's going, it's over 500,000, so I still got to obviously do the whole relationship. And that was just one phone call.
You got to get him to know, like, and trust you.
Yeah. I mean, he has no idea who I am. He knows other realtors. He's like, but you're unbiased person. He's like, I can do it with you and not upset anybody else. I'm
right.
Like, exactly. It's those ones that help.
Would you do business with somebody that only called you once?
No.
Definitely not. You got to have a follow-up system, and that's where I think realtors really drop the ball is the follow-up. It takes about seven conversations for that person to even consider liking you. And a lot of times that's just the average 7. So that means you really you're looking at 7, 8, 9, and you just go after the follow-up. But most agents give up after the first time. If they don't, if the phone call didn't go in their favor, it might've been a little bit uncomfortable. They got a hard read on the person on the other end of the phone. Yeah. They just give up and walk away. And really that's never going to get you anywhere. And that's why 82%, I was listening to some shows the other day, sidebar, is 82% and 87% of the two stats I always throw out. So I'm not sure which one it is. I just hear, I always hear conflicting numbers on two or three sources I live in. So we're just going to say it's in the high 80s, mid 80s of the fail out rate. So I don't care if it was 70%. It's still a high fail out rate. Yeah. So, it's the 82% fail out rate is really, once again, predicated on people not doing the things that they don't want to do when they don't want to do them. If you have any reluctancy to making phone calls, that's 100% what you should be doing. Yeah. If you have any just like reluctancy to going to door knock or hanging, you don't even have to door knock. Like, I had you yesterday reach out to, Marshall, I had you reach out yesterday to a home warranty company that I know has door hangers, right? And we're going to get some door hangers here. You can just go out and put a door hanger there, right? Yep. And then the next week you can do a mail out, right? And so then the next week after that, you can do another door hanger, right? Yep. Then you can do a Facebook ad that hits the neighborhood. Now you can bring in some tech. Right? You can bring in that supplemental tech on top of all this because now you're out there creating the relationships. Now the fourth week, you get to go door knock. Mm-hmm. Now they've seen your face. Put your face on all your branding. Now they've seen your face 3 times, and now they more than likely have seen you on the internet in the same neighborhood, right? So now they're building a little bit of trust with you. Now you can go knock on their door. And this is part of farming, right? Hey, hello, blah, blah, blah. It's like, hey, did you know that we sold a house right down the road? Yeah. It's, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and it's sold for $350,000. You ever think about selling? Nope. Okay, bye. And on to the next one. On to the next one. Or invite them
to open house in the community or in that neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a great.
I found that was an easier way to, especially for door knocking, because of my struggles with door knocking and people and everything, is having a reason just other than, do you want to sell?
Opportunity to choose your neighbor.
Yeah, I fumbled through that every time, and so when I did it with an open house or asked about the neighborhood that they live in, I mean, it's a mind shift. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just going about it a different way, and it was so much easier.
Right,
for me.
and that's a mental block you have.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
and so
Yep.
you know that's one thing that I wanted to get on this subject today. Like obviously when the mics were off, you know, the conversation was a little bit more deep about really, you know, my team, you guys, and myself not doing the things that we need to be doing every day, and we started relying a little bit too much on tech. You know, I mean, we do have a lead generation. What's that called? CRM. Sorry. Yeah. Well, a lead generation CRM. You know, we do pour money into that. We spend a lot of money on that thing, right? And so I can certainly shift through there and look at all the leads coming in and see that they're not being called. You know, they're not being kept up with. And usually if I ask, sorry guys to call you out on the air, usually if I ask, you know, it's like, oh, they didn't pick up. You know, that's what I always get. It's like, okay, how many times you call them? Oh, just the once. You know, and it's like, that's a $600,000 lead. You know, they were interested in $600,000 homes. I would continue to pound that until they call you back, you know, until they either buy from you or they tell you to F off. I would call them, you know, and there's a lot of new school generation people out there like, I don't like this guy Snowberger's approach. You know, I don't like this. I want to do the stuff that is not going to get me a direct no. You are not working every day if you are not hearing no 10 to 20 times a day, right? We've said this before. And so if you're not having conversations, if you're not doing something every day to get a deal going within 30, 60, 90 days, you're not doing work, right? Shuffling paperwork from one side to the other is one thing. Learning how to do Facebook ads during your peak hours that you should be making relationships is not what you should be doing. You should be doing those things on your own time and then putting them into your business when you need them, right? And so when you walk in here and our time for lead generation is 9 to 11. Right. Yep. And so that's not time to come in here and sit through a webinar about how to do Facebook ads. Right. Yeah. So you know how I feel about that. I'm not saying you guys do that, but I know plenty of people in the industry do, because if we did join a webinar, there's 700 people on it. It's like those are 700 people that should be lead generating, you know, that think they're working. You know, it's like, oh, honey, I got to work. I got to log on this webinar and sit here and listen to a guy, you know, go through Facebook ads. And at the end of it, tell us how he can do it for us and just pay him. Okay, then why not just sit through an webinar to learn it if this guy is just out there to try to pitch it to us and do it, right? And so all these companies calling us every day, we get 5, 10 phone calls. And the funny thing is everybody that's trying to sell us something are doing exactly what we need to be doing.
Calling,
you know? Yep. And then they're calling and trying to sell us an easy button. Well, that's what we're doing. We're calling and selling ourselves to buyers or sellers that there's an easy button. Use us. We are the easy button for buyers and sellers. Yeah. You know, and we don't do that. We're so afraid of the outcome, and we've already got a predetermined notion of what's going to go on, you know, with that phone call, or, oh my God, for sakes, they say no, or, oh my God, if they tell us to F off and hang up, my life's over. You know, who cares if they tell you don't know this person? If they take the time to get to know you, that's they don't remember the initial phone call. No. So that's all lost. Like that's all just kind of not there anymore. That's irrelevant.
I think maybe a couple
dozen. I talked to a guy the other day. He couldn't remember that we were over there visiting him at the FSBO. Yeah. I called him and told him, yeah, man, remember back when you were at the FSBO? And he was like, what? And he couldn't remember us visiting him.
No, nobody ever remembers. That's like people would tell me that, like, hey, take me off your list and don't call me anymore. Okay, cool. And then I'll check them out for a while, and then they go to the D list, right, where they don't get called anymore. And then every once in a while, I mean, 6 months later, we start a new agent in. We load the D list into the call. And boom, let them start calling the D-listers, right? And so sometimes like, yep, we're ready now. Yeah. You know, you never know. People change their mind. People are reactional too. You never know what's going on in somebody's day. You never know what's going on immediately in their lives. And so it takes more than one phone call. If someone tells you to screw off and remove me, or I'm going to turn you in, or I'm going to sue you, or whatever else.
On the hang-ups and you call right back.
You are not going to get that phone call. And if you do, they're few and far between. Most people are courteous and say, hey, I'm not interested. And all you got to say is, if you were interested, you would have called me, right? So
I love that. I haven't had a chance to use that one yet. That's awesome.
It's we've got to stop fooling ourselves, and it starts early with this team, and then we just really kind of put it out there in the space. Mm-hmm. You know, we coach a few people here and there. We do have some room for some coaching. We got 2 spots left. You can reach me at. Just do my phone, 512-773-6461. If you're interested in our coaching program, I'm going to coach for a free month. And if you want to continue after that, we'll have a conversation then. But we just have to get back to the basics. And that's what I wanted this conversation to be about today, was back to the basics. I think that James Mendez, if you know this guy, research him a little bit, he more leans towards the tech space and I'm not making fun of him, but the fairy dust space, where he thinks that shit's just going to happen for him, right? If he closes his eyes and wish for it, it's going to manifest, and all of a sudden his bank account's going to be full.
I need some of that.
How's that working out for you?
Not good. Leading with tech stuff, although that's my comfort zone. I grew up. That's what I've known my entire life. I've done it through at the high school, through the military, outside of the military. Like tech is such an easy gravitation for me, and I'm good at it. So having to rewire my brain.
That's debatable.
Whoa. I lead the room. But anyway, no, it's still it's rewiring and fixing or adjusting how I focus and how I am able to navigate through sales in an entirely different way. Because I'm just not used to it. It's not my comfort zone. It's not where I can easily excel.
Right, but that's where we need to get you out of that comfort zone, because that's what you're always going to fall back on. In most of some of the generational stuff right now with millennials is saying, that doesn't make me comfortable. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to make you comfortable. Yeah. Nothing we do is supposed to make you comfortable. The road to success is boring. It's lonely at the top and it's boring, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to do the mundane things that make you uncomfortable every day. You have to make the phone conversations. You have to make the contacts. You have to get people to know, like, and trust you. And you have to do this every day. And then there's the showing homes and the listing homes and pounding signs in the ground. This is not a glamorous business like people think it is, right? Mm-hmm. So, I'm never trying to scare anybody off, and everybody can make a living at it, right? And I think, what's making a living? Like I've said before, it's like, oh, he's going to do nothing but make about $35,000 a year, and you've kind of jumped on me and like, hey, dude, that might be good for some people. No. That's not the way I think. So, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And it was inconsiderate of me.
That should be I know where you're coming from, though. You're saying that shouldn't be your goal. Like, you shouldn't be excited to make $30,000 a year. You should be excited that you're there, but that you're progressing past that. That's what I think you're saying. Like, that's not your end goal, or
right,
where you should
that's
be.
That's
you
the
deserve
space
more.
I work in, right? So I would say a part-time agent that's a man or a woman that maybe their spouse has a better job, or they just don't have to work that hard, and they really just kind of, I say don't have to work that hard. It's still hard. If you're making $35,000, you're still busting your butt. Yeah. And so I think that where that gets away from me is that's not where my head is I'm not here just to make some of the minimums. Yeah. And there's a lot of jobs out there that are so much easier to do, right? That actually you show up and it can be more effective, or that can be more impacting on your life, or you can be coming from contribution more and make the same amount of money. I mean, you could be a counselor, and help out, kids, or just work with pets or whatever else, just low impact stuff. That's what I would do if I only needed to make around $30,000 to $40,000, because this job stinks sometimes. It comes with a lot of stress. It comes with and look at me. I'm not in the best shape.
Look at me.
Well, I'm just saying. Like I'm not in the best shape, right? And so I'm 46 years old, and I think I'm prematurely great in the beard. But that's part of the real estate stuff, is that I'm not in the best shape because more than likely I'm finding out that I'm an emotional eater. When I'm stressed out, I eat, right? And I don't exercise a bunch, and all I do is work and stress myself out. And so when I get stressed out, what do? Is I turn over to the refrigerator. I know that sounds uber weird, but it's super transparent on my end, because I'm not afraid to say it. I've identified my problem and I've started to work on it, right? And I've taken on Orange Theory. Now I've tried to have an outlet for my stress through Orange Theory. I can't back off of what I need, though. I have personal goals where I want to be, and I'm not so motivated by money as much as I talk about, that the game's the profit. I'm motivated by winning. Yeah. I want to be the best. I want to help more people. I want to be, at the top of the mountain with a certain few people, and I want to always help people to get there, because I think there's enough room at the top for a lot of people. Not necessarily everybody, but a lot of people out there, So I mean, if you strive to do all these things, and keep working towards it every day and beat your head against the wall, it's stressful. However, the reward is nice when you get the accolades. I like some of the accolades. I've put them off in the past and try to say that I don't like them, but we've got a room full of trophies over here. I've won the Rookie of the Year thing. I've won I haven't won the Realtor of the Year.
Some builder dinners, I remember.
Yeah, I mean, I've won the top salesperson thing numerous times. I mean, all this stuff is I think that's cool. Now that's really only for me, and it really sits in the corner of a room for me, and it just helps me with that stuff. And that's going to be a split audience. People are going to say, "Oh, this guy's just full of himself and worried about this, and it's his ego he's feeding." It's like, in a sense, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's just I like winning. I like being a high performance person. Like I like pushing myself and pushing myself even further. We only live once, and we're dead a really long time. So why not be the best version you can be? Why not be the best salesperson? Yeah. I mean, why not be the best realtor you can be? Why not be the best business person? I'm trying to be one of the best podcasters, right? I got a long road there. We're 80 episodes in. I still say things when I'm supposed to say specific. I say Pacific.
I say that
Pacific is an ocean. Specific is an action. And so it's like, it's like I was thinking about myself. I'm going on a little lefty tangent here, but like articulation, right? So articulating what I say. I've trained myself to speak in bullet points because in business that has been more effective, right? And so I do it in my emails. My emails are line by line, right? Yeah. And so my even podcasting, I don't finish complete sentences and explain myself very well, or I interchange words all the time. That's how my brain works. However, it's not. I think people get the gist of it and just the message, And so all I'm trying to do is help you guys get better. And I thought this podcast will help us get better. Yeah. And in turn, we've had an effect on people's lives. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And so, if I got an award for the best podcaster, that'd be kind of cool. If I never got it, I'm okay with knowing that I've helped people.
Yeah.
It's nice to get the pat on the bats. The pat, see, I just did it right there. The pats on the back. However, it's not the most important thing to me. The most important thing is that our message resonates with people and it helps them get into action. And thank yous are pretty cool also.
Those are pretty nice to see come in.
We get text messages and I get things on my Facebook that I'm not friends with these people and I said these people, and you people.
He's talking about you guys.
Yeah, I'm not friends with a lot of these folks on Facebook, but all of a sudden it's like ping. I get this message and it's like, hey man, I listen to your podcast over and over. I really like what you guys had to say. It's really helping me in my business. I've been binge listening and all that stuff. I'm like, that's really cool. I'm usually
we're not the only ones with problems with binging.
I'm glad that we can help you, and just like, I think it's really funny that you guys always mess with James, and I think it's always funny that Marshall never talks. And it's like,
I'm here.
But anyway, so let's go ahead and get out of here for the day. The most important thing that I would have to say today is really kind of you have to put yourself into action. You have to do the things that you don't want to do. Obviously, I've stolen that from Tim Harris out there with Harris Coaching. I am a certified Harris coach. And so, that's one thing that a lot of my lessons, and I identified with these guys when I heard Tim and Julie Harris talk. I knew that I resonated with them. I had done some other coaching. I was with TF for a while. My coach with TF was a stand-up guy. He's one of the baddest ass agents in the United States, and he really gave me some actionable stuff to do. However, it wasn't impactful enough for me to stick around with TF, right? And so I really got into the coaching program over there. I liked it so much, and then I became one of their coaches, and that's what I really like to do, and I see myself going in that direction. However, I can't leave the real estate space, right? I just don't think it's that authentic of me to just become a coach, right? And maybe after 10 years or so, 5 years or whatever else, I could just start a coaching business. That's not what this is about. This is about sharing ideas with people, becoming more involved with people, learning more about their businesses and getting them into action. And really, at the end of it, is their success or them moving the ball down the court and them going from $100,000 worth of sales to $2 million in sales in a year after coaching with us.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yep.
And I want more of those. And our I'm going to use a buzzword. Our coaching program is very organic at this point. That we meet once a week and we put these ideas on paper and we turn back around and we put them into action ourselves. Yep. We're about $20 million. I don't think I'm authentic until I'm $35 million in sales, right? And so I know that you guys just like, oh God, we're gonna have to work
always
harder.
Pushing the bar down the road.
But what happens when we do 35 million? Right?
Do more.
I'll want to do 50.
Of course.
What happens when we do 50 million? Right. And so is it ever going to stop? More than likely not. So I have asked myself that question, right? And so do I want to continue to do this? And do I want to continue to I want to be in the real estate space. However, there's a lot of jobs in the real estate space that I could stay in and still come from contribution and help people out on a high level. And I think you guys are at the same place. We have these conversations all the time. So I kind of hogged the microphone today, guys. Sorry about that. So Mike Harrell, we want to talk about Mike Harrell over at Guaranteed Rate. Mike Harrell is a mortgage ninja. He can help you in any way, shape, or form in Texas, California, and Arkansas. Don't forget that guy. Please smash that 5-star button on the podcast player of choice. We need those reviews if we're helping you out. If you don't like us, thanks for trying us out. We'll see you next time. However,
follow us on Facebook.
Yeah, there you go. Top Shelf Agents Network. We're out.